Welcome into Power 5 Picks. We have our first ever 12-team playoff, and the first round starts tonight with a battle of Indiana. Finally, a good game we're talking about, and finally time for a playoff game. We have Indiana at Notre Dame. Again, not super far for either of these teams, both in the same state. Haven't really played each other in recent years. I saw like the last time they played, and these guys had shoulder pads the size of semi trucks. So don't know why they don't really play. I think it would be a pretty good rivalry, but probably because Indiana's been asked. But super exciting game. Notre Dame currently, at the time of recording, is a 7-point favorite. Over under of this game is 52 points. I am having some trouble with this game and I've been getting a bunch of crap because I've called these teams frauds when I talk about this matchup. And I honestly can't think of a better word to call these teams than frauds. If you look at the record and the schedules here, yes, both teams 11-1. Yes, Notre Dame has the worst loss probably of any ranked team this year, not just the playoff teams, losing to NIU at home. In week 2 or week 3 or week 1, whatever it was. I don't know if they played in a week 0 early in the year. I know teams change a lot, but just an unexcusable loss for Notre Dame. Since then, 0 ranked teams they have played that are currently ranked. Yes, Army, I think, got bounced out of the rankings with a loss to Navy during the Army-Navy game. They beat Navy. They beat Louisville, who is out of the rankings. They beat Texas A&M, who's out of the rankings. So yes, at the time, some pretty good wins, but now when we're looking back at it, not so good. And you can look a little bit more in depth in some of these teams. For example, Texas A&M was starting a quarterback that no longer is playing anymore. He benched. He's long gone. Same thing with Georgia Tech. They played Georgia Tech without Georgia Tech's star quarterback. So things like that are just a little concerning. And then, yes, they have 2 pretty good wins against Army and Navy. But if you guys know anything about these academy schools, they get wrecked by Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams. Absolutely wrecked. It's like in high school football when the wing T or the triple option works, but it doesn't work in college is because everyone else is bigger, faster, stronger. So, yes, Army and Navy can beat up on these group of 5s, but as soon as they play Notre Dame, they get absolutely destroyed. So, yes, it looks like an okay win, but if they played any Power 4 team, the same thing would happen. So I'm just not sold on Notre Dame. Then you look at Indiana, and they probably have, besides SMU, the easiest schedule I've ever seen in my life. Their one tough game against Ohio State, where we talked about it, they only played in this game to not get blown out because a blowout loss could put them on the verge of not being in the playoff. And they lost by, they lost by more than I thought, 23 points here. So they did kind of get blown out, but they stayed just competitive enough. Besides that, 5-point win against Michigan. Beat Washington, but Washington had or actually Indiana had a backup there. Northwestern, Nebraska, Maryland, UCLA, Purdue. I mean, I don't know how to look at either of these teams because they are, based on their record, based on their strength of schedule, are potential frauds. And it's just a perfect setting that they're playing each other. So sorry I went on a little rant there. Just wanted to get some backstory for why I do call these teams frauds. They haven't proven themselves at all to me to consider these teams good. So it's very difficult for me to pick a side on this one. So with that being said, I'll send it to you first. I am going the non-traditional way. I am not picking a game spread here or an over-under or a spread. I'm actually going the prop boat. So if you guys do want a prop, I'll give that out after Ethan gives his prediction on Notre Dame, Indiana.
Yeah, I actually like this game quite a bit. I'm actually trying to work my way down to South Bend for this game. I will not be in attendance at this game because I do not have $1,000 to throw on 2 teams that I don't give much care about, but my friends do. The tailgating will be fun, so trying to get myself down there. But I like Notre Dame quite a bit, minus the 7. I think they win comfortably. And you mentioned it, both schedules, but really IU. Yeah, no disrespect to your Wolverines, my Spartans. They played the biggest cupcakes schedule um, probably in this playoff. The Big Ten was just so down this year. You mentioned it, Ohio State, the only team that is even relevant really on that schedule, and they got blown out. Um, so yeah, I don't think Indiana's been battle tested. They're college football sweetheart. Everyone wants them to do good in this college football playoff. Don't think they're going to. I think they're completely outclassed here. Public's on them. I know sharps are kind of on them as well. I just don't see it. You said, Notre Dame's the ranked teams that they beat in the season are no longer ranked, but I still think Texas A&M is a good team. I mean, if they're in the Big Ten, they're easily third, Oregon and Ohio State. Um, I think Louisville's still a decent team, both the academies. Yeah, I mean, not great, Big Ten, they'd fit in okay with the Big Ten. But yeah, I just think, Notre Dame's been a little more battle tested here. They're streaking, haven't lost since that NIU loss, which, like you said, it was a terrible loss, but might have just gone in there feeling pretty good about themselves after the A&M win and just not the greatest spot. So I don't knock them too much for that. I think Notre Dame just far outclasses Indiana in this game. I think it's a comfortable win, 17 points, 20 points maybe. So um, it might be my favorite playoff bet this far. I think Notre Dame kind of rolls Indiana here.
Wow, that's a take. But hard to disagree. Again, I do think Notre Dame is a slightly better team. It's hard for me to say that with a whole lot of confidence, just because I really have a hard time figuring out what these teams are. I will say, um, I know Indiana's public. Indiana's been public all year since they started winning, but I think it might throw some people off just looking at that Ohio State game. And I really just want to emphasize that I think Indiana was playing that game to not get blown out. I think if they try to throw the ball more, if they try to get a little more creative, a little less conservative, I think it would have been a closer game. They definitely are outmanned and outclassed by Ohio State, but I think they played that. The strategy they went into that game is going to be completely different than the strategy they have to Notre Dame. That was a can win. Just please don't get embarrassed on live TV. This one is a must win. Do everything we can to win. Who cares if we lose? You know, we're going to do it. So different philosophy going in. But like I said, I'm going to go the prop route here, and I'm going to go a player prop. And I know player props aren't available for all you guys in college. If you are in a state that doesn't allow player props, I know there's prize picks, there's underdog, and a couple other things out there that you can bet player props on. If you still can't bet those, then I'm sorry, you might be out of luck here. You might just want to take Notre Dame and tail Ethan. But I'm going to go, and I apologize for the pronunciation, but I'm going to go Indiana's quarterback, Rourke, 2+ passing touchdowns. Currently on BetMGM, it is plus 170. I love it. I love this bet. He got shut out against Ohio State. Like I said, super conservative game for Indiana. 0 touchdowns. I think he had like 60 or 80 passing yards. They just ran the ball and punted basically on third down. But Notre Dame, and again, if you look at these teams that Notre Dame played, if you look at the Louisville and if you look at the USC game, I think those are the two games we want to look at with very pass heavy offenses. Louisville's quarterback had 3 touchdowns and 264 yards. USC's quarterback, who is their backup quarterback, 360 yards and 3 touchdowns. And besides that, you can't really look at any of these other Notre Dame games. I guess you can maybe look at the Texas A&M one, but again, that was with a quarterback who's no longer playing. The academy schools don't pass the ball. Florida State's ass, Virginia's ass. Georgia Tech had a backup quarterback, but he also threw for like 280 yards. Miami, Ohio, Purdue, ass. No, NIU, ass. But if you look at the 2 passing offenses they play, which Indiana is going to be a passing offense, it's what they've been all year besides the Ohio State game. They're going to launch the ball and chuck the ball, and that's how they're going to have any attempt of winning this game. So I think Rourke is going to let it sling. I like his passing yards, but I like his passing touchdowns at 2+ as my favorite bet of this. He had 4 against UCLA, 3 against Maryland, 3 against Northwestern, 4 against Michigan State, 2 against Michigan, 6 against Purdue, and obviously the 0 against Ohio State. So I think he's going to let it sling, and I love his passing touchdowns, and it's plus money. Again, at time of recording, plus 170 on BetMGM. But that's going to do it for our first playoff game. We also have 2 other regular bowl games today. I know they're not as important as the college football playoff, but if you do want bets, make sure you do check out our page. We do previews on every single bowl game this offseason or this postseason, no matter how good or bad the games are. So if you want any information on that, that is on our page. But Ethan, do you have anything to add before we sign off for our first game of the college football playoff?
No, that's 2 good ways to look at that first game. Aside from me, and then a nice plus price on a player prop there. So I like that angle from you. Yeah, gives the audience two ways to play this one. And again, your price on that is really great. So yeah, either way, good luck to to you guys no matter which way you bet this game.
And we will have 3 more previews coming out tomorrow. We have SMU Penn State, Clemson, Texas, and then the big boy game. I think the most entertaining game is going to be Tennessee and Ohio State, as well as 2 NFL games. But make sure you do check out our page for more previews on the NFL, college football, MMA, UFC. We got college basketball, NHL, NBA, you name it over here at Better and Green. But I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the game today. Hopefully you guys can win some money, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys.
You better start listening to the Better and Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? Listening to cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover old spot from the bottom to the top, eh? Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast, Better and Green.